So you're looking for a groove or an exercise that you can do to accelerate your slap bass playing. So you can work on efficient technique, groove, and even something cool that you can play at your next jam session. An exercise simple enough for beginners, but can be made gradually more difficult to get you on your way to pro slap bass. It will help you progress every day with as little as 10 minutes practice. So without further ado, here's a quick taste. Level 1 focuses on the fundamentals of the slap bass groove that you just heard. And be sure to spend quality time on each stage before you move on, as this will help you develop an all-round, well-developed slap sound. Here we are focusing on the slaps with the right thumb. Whilst this is simple, it's the centre of the technique and groove. There's two key points here. Number one is the slap motion. Imagine you are turning a doorknob first to close, then to open. And this is essentially the movement that we're looking for. It doesn't have to be too large of a movement, and you don't need to strike too hard as well. You might also find it easier if you have a medium to low action, as this tends to lend itself well to this style. Ultimately choose what's most comfortable to you, and this brings me on to the next point. There's many different ways to slap. There's the up thumb with the bounce, there's the down thumb, there's a kind of parallel to the string strike through, and all of these give a slightly different sound but can all achieve the goal of a great slap bass tone. Now, are there some benefits to some of these variations? Well, if you have the thumb in a parallel or perhaps even bouncing off, it's going to be easier to get to that double thumb style that I'll cover in a later video. But really, what's most comfortable will be able to get you to playing all of the grooves in today's video. Point number 2 is muting. This is really important to get a clean sound. You can use your left hand to cover the strings when you are not slapping, and this will stop the strings ringing out. Some players even use some of their right arm when using this technique with the thumb up to also help mute. As well as muting to prevent the strings ringing out, we can also use it to determine the note lengths. By simply touching on the strings, we can end the note, which is going to be critical so that when we're playing a groove, we can cut off the notes when we're playing the next note or when we've got a rest. Now we've talked about technique, you can drill these using repetition and practice implementing these into the groove. When you're playing along with the groove, it's worth really honing in on what the drums are playing. Listen to the drums in the groove to hear how the bass line, the slaps here in particular, fit in with the kick drum. Now it's time to progress this groove by adding another essential slap bass technique, the pops. These add that crisp brightness to your tone and complement the slaps. Here's how to do it. So coming back to the analogy of turning a doorknob, the closing motion is going to remain the slap, but to add the pop, we're going to use the door motion of opening. We're going to do this straight after the closing motion, so we're not going to do the full motion of closing and opening with the thumb and then try and pop, because we're wasting some movement there, but we're going to simply close the door, open the door with the pop, so close, open, or slap, pop. And that over time can be sped up to create a really effective technique. These also add a crisp sonority to your tone and really complement the slightly fatter tone of the slaps. Often we'll be using the D and the G strings for the pops. However, you can of course do this straight after thumbing a string as well. So or check out the groove with the slaps and pops. Now the foundation is covered, it's time to really level up this groove. That's what exercise 3 is all about. Now we're going to add ghost notes. Now, what are ghost notes? Well, these are muted slaps and pops, and we create these by muting the strings with the left hand and then playing as usual our slaps and pops with the right hand. This style of playing is more drum-like and definitely adds a percussive element to your playing. This is really cool and you can use it to fill in notes in between your actual notes. And this can be used in quite a subtle way to add some texture to your grooves, but also to create some really driving funk bass lines that are very percussive in nature. See how these added percussive notes add to the overall sound of the groove. Now we have a pretty cool sounding slap groove that has that really important repetitive nature. But what if we wanted to add some further interest? This is where slap fills come in, and they're a great way to vary the groove, and when used in the right place and at the right time can really add to the music. Here I'm using the ghost notes we talked about earlier, as well as some hammer-ons with the left hand. These are very common in the slap bass style, and a very common example would be playing an open note or a fretted note first. So say we have an E, and then we hammer on to another fret higher, so or open D up to E, or E to F sharp. If we're say playing in this groove of F sharp, we're going to be using that flat 7, the 7th note of the minor scale, and we're going to be hammering on up to the root, and that's a very common application of this hammer on. So check out this fill. Now let's check out this example that uses some fills with the hammer-on technique. Now this slap bass groove is really starting to come together, and we built a strong groove with some variation. Often when playing slap bass, the focus can very quickly become fixated on more notes and lots of tricks. However, this isn't always the most musical. That's why it's always important to still remember melody, and working with creating some really singable lines as well. In this last variation of the groove, we're really going to focus on melody and using some notes from the pentatonic scale. Using scales like the pentatonic scale can give us more options than just roots and fifths, and can break us out of common slap bass patterns. Check out how adding a few of these pentatonic notes can further embellish the groove while still sounding like a solid bass part that fits within the context of the music. If you've enjoyed this slap bass lesson, check out my slap bass playlist right here.